Okay, so welcome back. This is part 5 of getting started with Vibium. And in part 4, we were able to set up Vibium MCP in Cloud Code, where we handed over everything to AI by prompting AI via GitHub Copilot to um, open a browser for us and navigate to URL, perform a set of click actions, typing into an element after identifying it. And this is totally done without us writing any form of code whatsoever. So AI took over everything, wrote the code, and performed the actions for us. So we were able to use this to complete a scenario journey without doing much. So this time around, we are going to see how we can turn this whole thing, what we have done so far here in the test. Let's see how we can move it over to page object. But then before we can move it over to page object, let's see what page object is. So page objects, as you can see, is a design pattern used in test automation, especially with UI testing tools such as Selenium, Playwright, Cypress, Vibium, etc. So there is a whole lot of um, tools out there for test automation, and we are basically using this design pattern to be able to make tests cleaner for us, make it more maintainable and more reusable. Then, in page objects, each web pages or major components of an application is represented by a separate class. So that means that a page we have on the browser. So let's say if I navigate to the Swag Lab page, this is the main or first landing page. And as you can see, the actions we are performing on this page is entering a username and password. So basically logging in. So that means we are going to have a page called login page, right? And then this page called login page on the browser, we are going to have a corresponding class inside of our project called login page. Okay, so we are representing a class inside of Visual Studio Code, and that will represent a page on the browser. So it's going to help us to understand um, easily where to go to if we need to perform any actions or we need to do any sort of thing on the page. And it doesn't end there. It helps us to also store the locators in there on those pages so that we can easily reuse them. Okay, so it stores locators such as buttons, fields, links on those pages. And then we are going to also add a set of methods that acts on the page. And these methods will help us to perform things like clicks, types, and submits. So it also helps us to hide implementation details from the actual test. So basically, if we have a test like this, we are going to add a couple of implementations or methods that is implementing or that contains a set of codes. And those codes will be performing some actions on the page, right, in that separate class, but it will not be exposed to the test itself. All right. So that means that the test never directly interacts with the locator. Instead, they interact with the page methods. All right. So it's going to look something similar like this. So when a page is created representing that page of the browser, we are going to now create an object for that browser or initialize that page and so on, and then call the methods that we've created within those classes and call them within our test. So let's quickly go ahead and see how we can do this within our test. So this was the test we ran in our previous video. Now I'm going to comment this test out. I'll comment it out, and then I'm going to use a new test which I have called source demo with page object model. And the only thing I'm doing here so far at the moment is opening the browser. Okay, so the first or the next thing I'm going to do is create a folder or a folder structure that will help me house all the pages which are going to be represent the pages on the browser. So if you look at our last scenario journey, all we did was to navigate to this page, enter username, password, click login, and then our next page. So let me just show you that. So as soon as we logged in, we were able to get to this product page. And all we did here in the product page is to verify that the product title um, exists. And that was it. We shut down the browser. So as you can see from the login page, we now moved over to the product page, and the product page is now another page. So this page, we're going to be adding all our locators and methods inside of this product page as well um, in our project, so that it's easier to understand and we know exactly where we are reaching out to um, call any methods or use any locator and so on. So let us quickly create a folder here and call it pages. Now you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it page object, you can call it POM, which stands for page object model, and so on. So I'm going to call it pages. And then inside of this folder, I'm going to add two classes. One, I'll call it login page. I'll call it login page, actually, the JS, and then I'll add a second one, which I'll call product page.js. So we have our two pages. Now, in login page, we are going to be adding a few things. One, we are going to add a constructor which will help handle dependency injection for us, transferring the capability of an object such as a driver from one page to another. Okay, and the next thing we're going to add is our locators, which will help us to identify elements on the page. And then finally, we're going to be adding methods or functions that will help us to um, drive the test. Okay, so the first thing you want to do here in this class is import Vibium, so const, and I'm going to say vibe. So I will bring in Vibium here. And then after that, I'm going to create a class, which I'll call class login page. And then inside of the class, I'm going to create a constructor. And this constructor will help us to handle the initialization of the driver, or help us to inject the driver object from one class to another, and it will also help us to hold each of the locators that we are going to be using on the page. So as you can see, I've got some code suggestions on the here for me, and because I know that they are going to be useful, I can accept them by pressing my tab button. But if you know them, obviously you can go ahead and type them afresh, but let me go ahead and accept them. So we have created a constructor, and we have initialized our driver objects. We've added a URL where we are navigating to, and we've added a set of locators. So one, which is the username, password, and the submit button. And this login logo, I don't think we need it here, so we're going to take it off. So the next thing we are going to do is to add like a navigation. So let's call this go. I'll just call it navigate URL. Okay, and then we have a line of code which is going to take us to the URL, and then as you can see, I'm calling the URL right here. And the next thing we want to do is to enter a username and password. So I'm going to enter username and password, or let's just say enter credentials. Okay, so while entering the credentials, I want to be able to add the username and the password so that we can get everything completed within one method rather than separating the method. So this is the locator or the line of code that will help us to identify the username. And as you can see right here, it is taking the username from this locator within the constructor. So that's the username inputs right here. And then the password is doing just the exact same thing by calling the password from there. And then it's going to type the username and password on the page as soon as we navigate to the login page. And then finally, we want to click the login button. So I have identified the login button, and then all I want to do is to click the login button. Okay. So how do we then use this? Before we go ahead and use it, let's quickly export this module to export. Okay. So I want to export the login page so that I can initialize that in my tests and be able to use all the methods within it appropriately. So let's go to the test now. So here within the test, I'm going to create the object of login page, as you can see right there in line 5. And I'm now going to initialize the login page by typing login page equals to new login page. And then I'm going to use the login page to call the navigate method. So with this implementation, we are going to be able to open obviously navigate to a browser after the browser has opened. Actually, let me use the lowercase there. So we will navigate to a URL using the implementation we have here in the login page. And then the next thing we want to do is to enter username and password. So we are going to do the same thing and type login page.enter credentials, and then we're going to be entering these credentials, which is the username and password right there. So if we run this test the way it is right now, all we are going to see is that a browser will open and then it will navigate to the URL that we've specified within this page object called login page, and then it's going to enter the credential, username and password. And that's it. It's not going to shut the browser down except we tell it to do something else. So the next thing we could do is after logging in, we are expecting to do like a set of validation or carry on to perform some more other set of actions. But in this case, let's quickly go ahead. I'm just going to quickly make things faster by importing Vibium here as well. Vibium, and then create my class. And within the class, I'm going to create a constructor which initializes the drive object, and then I'm adding my product title. And you might be wondering why these code suggestions are coming through. Yes, AI understands the URL that you are trying to automate, and it automatically picks, you know, suggests codes for you, right? And because I have already added some of those within my test right here, so it automatically detected that this is probably what I want to do. Hence why you can see those code suggestions. So this is the locator that will help me to verify the product title on the page. And then the next thing I want to do is to go ahead and create a get product title, and then it will return as a string, and I can then go ahead and use that within my test. So here I'm going to say, let me first initialize my product page. Okay, and after initializing my product page in line 14, I am calling the get product title, which I just added in the product page. So this one right here. And then after that, I'm using an assertion strict equal to verify that the text which I retrieved from the locator that I added in the products page, which also acts as my actual value, is equal to my expected value. Okay, so now we've been able to create our page objects, and then we've called those methods inside of our test. Let's now see if we run the test, what will happen, if it's going to pass or fail. So again, you can see that everything becomes smaller. It becomes easily maintainable. And then compared to all of this code you're seeing right here. So it, it makes it a lot easier to understand. Right, let's just run this test and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to so as you can see, the browser opened, and it navigated to the URL, entered the username and password, and logged in successfully. And also, we are going to verify if it actually did the verification. So as you can see, the test failed. It says product page is not a constructor. I know why. So the reason why it is saying it's not a constructor is because I did not export the page. Okay, I will save that and then go ahead and run the test again. Okay. Right, so the browser has opened again and navigated, entered username and password, and there you go. This time around, it should pass. And if I open the terminal, can you see right here, we were able to see it loaded source demo, typed username and password, click login button. Uh, it hasn't done this part yet. Let's run it again and see. Maybe I'll give it some time to sort itself out. Maybe let me take a screenshot. Actually, I'll take a screenshot and I can shut down the browser here. Okay. So I want the screenshot to be saved inside of my screenshot folder. So I have a folder here called screenshot, and it's going to save a screenshot with name screenshot underscore page object model. I could also call it products. Let's now run the test again. Okay, so the browser's opened, entered credentials, logged in. Let's give it a little bit of time and see if it's going to give us all the information we're looking for. So as you can see at that point, he entered username and password and clicked login. It's still here. And it's failed again. So it timed out after 30 seconds waiting for product label elements not found. Okay, let's go and see what the product label is. Okay, so let's go over to this page here and okay, so we don't have a locator by name product label. So sometimes when you get some code suggestions from AI, don't take everything. You should be very careful of this and try to verify it yourself. So the locator we're trying to identify is this one right here. So as you can see, we have a data test, or we can use this class. If I change that, there you go. So I'm going to copy that. I mean, it's best for us to use data tests. Well, the class should be fine as well. So I'm just going to place that here, and let's now run the test again. Okay. Okay. Expected is product, operator, strict equal. Product title is not correct. So it's telling us that the product title is not correct. Let's see what we did in here. Get products. Yeah, I'm expecting it to return the text. Okay, maybe the issue should be from the locator. Let's try. So if you want to be 100% certain what the locator should look like, you can verify that here in the console. So type documents dot, let's say, type. There should be a title. Title is swag lab. I want this locator. Okay, we try the class again in here. Class name. Okay, so it's going to give us a whole lot. I see. Okay, let's change the locator, or we can actually move that from where it is to the span tag, or we can directly use this class here. If I change that, there we go. So we can get the product directly by using that class name. So I'm going to go over to my locator here and I'll change that. So because it's a class, I'll put a dot right in front of it. And then I can now run the test. So hopefully everything should be fine. Okay, so the login has happened. And there you go. The test passed this time. So as you can see, it ran a test called source demo with page object model. Just one test was executed, one passed, and it ran for this duration. And that's how you can switch it into page objects, just to make things a lot more reusable. So that means another person can now add their own test and reuse the same methods and locators you've added within the login page. They can also reuse all of these methods. They don't need to write it again. So that's the essence of reusability, and that's the importance of page object model. Okay, that's it, guys, for this video. See you in the next video. If you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.